What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith, and welcome to The Nerdy Narrative. On this channel, I like to talk to you about the stuff that I am reading, whether it be science fiction, fantasy, horror, manga, comics, literary fiction, classics, nonfiction, short stories. Even a poem or two may find its way onto the channel. You just never know where I'm going to stick my nose next. Today's episode of Bookish Fun is going to take place in the fantasy genre. I'm going to talk to you today about my experience reading The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King, which is the second book in the Dark Tower series. If you missed my video about book one, which was The Gunslinger, I'll have it in the cards and in the description box down below. But when I read The Gunslinger, it raised a lot of questions about what may be coming in this series. So I've read book two. I haven't started book three yet. So we're going to talk today about my experience reading this and if any of those questions raised in The Gunslinger are answered, and maybe some new questions that I have going forward. Before I start addressing the questions from The Gunslinger and whether or not they were answered by this book, I do realize that can be considered spoilers for anyone who hasn't read this series. So for those of you who have not read The Dark Tower or you haven't read The Drawing of the Three, I'll give you my non-spoiler opinion of this book. If you're someone who read The Gunslinger and you stopped reading The Dark Tower series because of it, I highly encourage you to give The Drawing of the Three a chance. This book is drastically different than The Gunslinger. The pacing was insane. So many people told me, you're going to be up all night binging this book. They were right. This book was so fast paced. I mean, it was just breakneck speed of what was happening. It was fantastic. It was like it was written by a different author. The tone and the pacing and the story was just so completely different. It was a ride. I absolutely loved it. The characters that are introduced into this one are just absolutely off the chart amazing. Character development was just blowing my mind. The experience that I had with these characters that Stephen King created, even if I didn't relate to them and their struggle, whether it be a mental disorder, a medical condition, an addiction, while I may not could relate because I had never experienced those things for myself, Stephen King explained it and wrote them in such a way that I felt I understood perfectly where this person was in their life. I felt like I was standing in their shoes and saw it the way that they saw it. It just connected me to the story in a way that I just haven't experienced with a whole ton of authors in their books and the characters they create. So I loved that. Being character driven, that was just absolutely a favorite element that I found in The Drawing of the Three. You know, as far as the world building, it definitely got opened up a little bit more, which was very interesting. The plot, while it was very simple, what it set out to do, the way that we got there was not. I loved it. This book was a complete 5-star fantasy read for me. I am so upset that I've never read the series before, but I'm glad to be reading it now. So at this point, I would say if you haven't read The Drawing of the Three, you should probably duck out, because depending on what you view as a spoiler, I'm about to discuss the questions I had after reading The Gunslinger and some possible predictions and if any of that took place in The Drawing of the Three. So if you consider that sort of material a spoiler, this is where we need to part ways until you go read The Drawing of the Three. Please go read it. Please give it a chance if you haven't. And then you can come back and watch the second part. Okay, so all that's left are folks that have read the series or at least read Drawing of the Three and The Gunslinger, or you're one of those that is very lenient when it comes to what you consider a spoiler. So let's talk about some questions I had from The Gunslinger. And the first question I had after reading The Gunslinger was, what world were we in? Was it the same world or a parallel world? And now that I've read The Drawing of the Three, I really think that it is a parallel world, because the plot of the story, Roland is fulfilling the prophecy that the man in black gave to him at the end of The Gunslinger by finding these the three. And he does that by opening and going through doors that he finds on this beach that he has found himself on, with these lobstrosities, which, guys, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I was sweating the entire time I read this book because of those damn lobster things. They were frightening. And the level of fear that those things kept me at throughout, like I was constantly wondering, is another one gonna be sneaking up to take a bite out of Roland's body as he goes through this doorway? I mean, y'all, those things were awful, awful. So was it a parallel world? I think that it was. Are there several? I don't know, because all three doors took him to New York City. While it was different times, it was still New York City. And then of course we find one of the characters actually crossed timelines with one or two of the other characters. So parallel worlds, yes. The second question I had were, who were the gunslingers? Unless I missed it, I didn't get any further information on that, which the follow-up question was, why was Roland the last gunslinger? I kind of got some context clues that I think Roland might have killed the rest of them. Why? I don't know, but I'm sure that's going to be coming in future books. But then we find out that he is thinking of these other characters he's pulling into his world as gunslingers. So what exactly makes someone a gunslinger? Is it just because he sees them pick up a gun and handle themselves well? I'm not sure. So a new question I have is, what makes someone a gunslinger? Another question I have was, who exactly was the man in black? I still don't really have a definitive answer for that. I don't know. We did get his name, and what was funny is during Eddie's part of the story, actually, that the drug guys that Eddie is working for have kidnapped his brother for collateral. They're playing Trivia Pursuit, and they have hopped him up on heroin. So every question they ask, he gives the same answer: Johnny Cash, Johnny Cash. So finally, one of them is going to be cute, and he asks a question, and the correct answer is Johnny Cash. As the guy's doing this, he's saying, oh, country western singer. His name is something you would open your wallet and find, and he is often called the Man in Black. And what I found interesting, that's the one time that Eddie's brother didn't say Johnny Cash. He said the Man in Black's name, which was Walter something. I forgot the last name already. I'm a terrible booktuber. So I found that extremely interesting. Like, why would he say the Man in Black's name? Had he met the Man in Black? Who is the Man in Black? Is he a demon? Why did Eddie's brother know his name? Why did he say his name? The next question I had was, where or when were they? I still don't know exactly. We didn't get a name for the world. I just know they went through the doors into New York City at different times. The question I had about, was Roland a good guy or a bad guy? I'm really struggling over that distinction. He feels still mostly gray, but kind of leading towards a bad guy, because while I loved the relationship that Roland had with Eddie, and then also when he sees Jake still alive in New York and prevents his death, no matter if it caused a paradox, because at that point, because Jake didn't die, he didn't cross over into Roland's world to basically warn him. And then just the emotional response of Roland to being able to save Jake's life. So you think he's good, right? But then at the end, he tells Eddie that he loves him, but that he would do whatever he had to do to get to the Dark Tower. Is he just one of those that's going to become more good as he goes? Or are we going to get to the end and he's going to kill everybody he loves in order to gain access to the Dark Tower? Why does he want access to this tower so bad? We still don't know. That's one burning question I still don't have the answer to. What is this tower? Why does Roland want to get to it? What is its purpose? No clue. And then I have another question. Does this tower exist? Is it an actual tower, or is it something that is personable to you? Is the Dark Tower one thing to Roland, but it would be completely different to me? Is it something that is just within ourselves, something we need to overcome in order to be the best version of ourselves? Is it something that is causing us to stumble in our spiritual walk, like our spiritual journey? Like, what is the Dark Tower? I was disappointed that there was very little mention of the high speech in this one. I was very interested in that from the first one. And I still don't know who exactly is allowed to use it and when or why. So I'm still curious about that. And I also, still have the question of the world that Roland is in, all the remarks about how things moved on. What changed that world? Clearly it didn't start that way. How did it get there? I now know that it isn't our world that was either destroyed or regressed instead of progressed. So now I want to know what changed that world. But it all comes back to the tower. Is it a key? Is it a portal? Is this tower the reason that Roland is chasing the man in black? What is the man in black's connection to the tower? Is he tied to the tower? Does he exist because the tower exists? Is he a demon? Is he held prisoner? Like, was he once a gunslinger that was taken over by something, a force from this tower, and he's being held prisoner? Is Roland trying to get access to the tower to free this person? What exactly is this tower? It just all keeps coming back to the tower. So that's where I'm at on this journey. I absolutely loved the drawing of the three. It was so unexpected where it went. I loved the characters. I really loved the dynamic between Eddie and Roland. I loved that Roland saved Jake. I love that Roland was allowed to save Jake. I'm sure it's going to have ramifications that are going to come up later in the series. Oh man, and the introduction of Odetta and Detta, oh gosh, that had me on the edge of my seat. I loved reading about her, but I was also scared to read about her, of what she was going to do, what she was capable of. And even with the outcome, even with how she evolved, I would be keeping one eye open around her at all times, no matter what. I don't trust her still. I love her as a character in this story. She makes it very interesting. I can't wait to see what she's going to do in the future. But I'm also very frightened of what she's capable of. I'm a little scared of her being a gunslinger. While I feel that she's perfectly capable of being on Roland's level of expertise, I also think she could surpass it, but I think she's going to lose that part of Odetta that makes her a character that I love. So I'm just curious to see how these people are going to change as they continue down the path of the Dark Tower, but I'm going to be right there with them, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. I hope you're enjoying my questions and just thoughts as I go. Predictions as far as the Wastelands. No idea. Absolutely no idea. It seems that the drawing of the three added more questions than answers, so I hope the Wasteland kind of evens the scale and gives me more answers than questions. But of course, you guys will be there with me to see what happens. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. Comment down below, tell me what your favorite book in the Dark Tower series is, and I hope to see you in the next one.